Which Shepard should be canon? I understand this is the Mass Effect universe and there is no such thing as a canon Shepard, but in this video I'm going to argue that if they were to make a single version of Shepard canon, I believe I have some objective reasons for my pick. Let's get into it. So the very first choice you get is Shepard's gender. Now this is not the most important choice. Either male or female could work. I personally prefer femshep, and I'll get into why a little bit later. The next choice you get is Shepard's background. Now you have three options, which is Spacer, Colonist, and Earthborn. I'm not going to go through each of them. I'm just going to go through the one that I believe works best. My preferred background is the Colonist background. It reads, you were born and raised on Mindwar, a small border colony in the Attican Traverse. When you were 16, slavers raided Mindwar, slaughtering your family and friends. You were saved by a passing Alliance patrol, and you enlisted with the military a few years later. The reason I pick the Colonist as my favorite background is because it ties in beautifully to my preferred service history. My preferred service history is ruthless. It reads, throughout your military career, you have held fast to one basic rule: get the job done. You've been called cold, calculating, and brutal. Your reputation for ruthless efficiency makes your fellow soldiers wary of you. But when failure is not an option, the military always goes to you first. Now, these two already to start with, it's very easy to roleplay these two options together. The colonist background, having suffered through the trauma of being attacked on Mindwar, that could very easily lead to someone becoming ruthless as a military operative. What they don't tell you in the ruthless service history description is how Shepard became famous as a ruthless operative. And that's basically by hunting down and killing slavers. When you read the codex about Shepard's history, it goes into a bit more detail on what happened on Mindwar and what happened in Shepard's military history. I'm going to read through the whole thing, and this is a bit of a repetition, but it's just a much better description. So it reads, you were raised on Mindwar on the fringes of the Attican Traverse. When you were 16, the colony was raided by slavers. The entire settlement was razed and your friends and family were slaughtered. A passing Alliance patrol rescued you, but all you loved was destroyed. You enlisted with the Alliance military, joining the long and bloody campaign to rid the Skillian Verge of Batarian slavers and other criminal elements. The final battle came when Alliance forces laid siege to Torfin, a slaver base built miles below the surface of a desolate moon. The superiority of the human fleet was wasted in the assault on the underground bunker, but you led a corps of elite ground troops into the heart of the enemy base. Nearly 3/4 of your own squad perished in the vicious close-quarters fighting, a cost you were willing to pay to make sure not a single slaver made it out of Torfin alive. Now, if that doesn't read like the synopsis for a revenge plot, then I don't know what does. I mean, they could make an entire spin-off movie, or they could make an entire DLC. Hell, they could make an entire game based just off that synopsis. That is why Colonist and Ruthless is my preferred combination of background and service history. None of the other combinations, in my opinion, read as well as a cohesive story on its own. Having read all that, I want to take it back quickly to Shepard's gender and why I prefer femshep over maleshep. If you chose the colonist background, you will get a side quest when you return to the Citadel called I Remember Me. In this quest, there is a woman named Talitha, and she is basically threatening to hurt herself, and Shepard has to go talk her down. Now, the reason she wants to hurt herself is because she is a survivor of Minoir, and she has been suffering all the time that Shepard has been in the military. This woman has been suffering on Minoir, and she only recently escaped. This quest hits home in a different way for me when Shepard is a female. Standing in front of her, looking at this woman and knowing that had things gone differently, this could have been Shepard. It's just a different dimension to the role play that I just don't get if Shepard is a male in this situation. That's even why I gave my version of FemShep a buzz cut so that they look similar in this exchange. To get back to the character creator, the final choice you have is to choose your class. This is also not the most critical of choices, but there is a choice that makes the most sense in terms of the story. And that choice is the Vanguard. The reason I picked the Vanguard is, again, because of the Codex entry. If you read the last bit of the Codex, it says, nearly 3/4 of your own squad perished in the vicious, close quarters fighting. If you then go to the description of the Vanguard in-game, it says, Vanguards are biotic warriors. They combine biotics and weapons to take down opponents and are especially deadly at short range. So the description of what happened on Torfin is these very close quarters, bunkered up enemies, and Shepard took a few elite warriors in there and just slaughtered them all. So it's very easy to imagine a Vanguard just wielding biotics and a shotgun, just massacring all of them. It just, in my mind, it just makes the most sense, more than any of the other classes. So there you have it. My preferred Shepard. If there was a canon Shepard, my pick would be Ruthless, Colonist, Vanguard, Renegade, FemShep. There's nothing that I love more than discussing Mass Effect lore. So I'd love to hear your favorite combination in the comments. Cheers.